Welcome, fellow cat nerds, to a brand new playthrough of ClanGen, and this time we're going to be taking on the Lona challenge by mintyrue, I think it's pronounced, on Discord, and we'll start as one lone kit, or maybe a few kits, surviving against all odds, and hopefully building a clan and a legacy that can long outlive them. This is what the people asked for. This is a democracy. There are a few ground rules that I'll quickly go over. So, everyone brought in with these kits needs to perish or be exiled, because we can only start with the kits and gain clan members as we go. And I'm not allowed to choose a leader, deputy or a medicine cat until there are 12 cats in the clan, but cats are allowed to make themselves medicine cat if they decide to be. I'm also adding a rule of always hit and proceed on patrols, because I am chaotic and like to live on the edge. But let's get started by choosing the campaign. Cruel season. I'm so excited for cruel season, but we'll have to do expanded mode for now because cruel season isn't out yet. And now to name our new clan. So I've already picked out a name for the clan, and I think it reflects the sense of hope that these kits feel for the future. It's an animal that's associated with dawn and light, and it's a really beautiful bird that's known in folklore to guide the lost with its song. So from now on, we will be known as Lark Clan. Oh, cute kitties, cute kitties. Okay, so we have Astakit, who's a little boy, a daydreamer and a lover of stories. Friftkit, who is a wee girl that's nervous but also loves stories. She'd get along with Astakit. Dawnkit, who's noisy, we like that, and interested in clan history. Ooh, those three would actually make a clan that would prioritise storytelling. Maybe even stories to preserve the clan's history. I like that. Then we have baby girl Frushkit, who is sweet and quick-witted. Oh, it's a shame because I have my heart set on 3 cats, and I can already start to see how Asta, Dawn and Thrift fit into my idea of the story. But then Frushkit's cute. Oh. Okay, so I'm gonna randomly fill in the rest of the clan. Choose you. Actually, you'd be a cute medicine cat. Yep. Yep. Bring in little Friftkit. And Astakit. And then Dawnkit joins too. And you can come as well, Longtail. For the territory, I think it would be cool to choose somewhere more farmlandish. Oh, but I do like the beach. They're all so pretty. No, okay, so we'll go with the grasslands. And here begins our brand new journey. Please allow me a moment to quickly axe these cats off. Be right back, StarClan just needs to take them out real quick. Okay, so that was actually brutal, but sacrifices had to be made for the sake of storytelling. And these kits are now the last remains of their once thriving clan. And they're going to have to rely on their instincts, their determination, and the guidance of their ancestors to overcome any challenges they might face in this territory. I'd say that each one of them remembers very clearly what the medicine cat, Crouch Ivy, told them. She'd spoken to them with a grave seriousness, telling them that they are the last hope of StarClan. that they must rebuild from the ashes of the three clans before them, work together so that they might soar again, united as one, as Lark Clan. They hadn't expected then that the land and the trembling of it would take the last remains of their clanmates, who'd end up disappearing in the tunnels forever. But now we get to finally meet these babies. First up is Astakit, who is regretting eating that bug that they caught. I think he might just be hungry. The ground stopped shaking a little while ago and he's pretty sure the others will be back soon. But he's not eaten in a while and there's not much prey left on the fresh kill pile. So he just hunted a bug and was quite proud of himself until he ate it and it tasted vile. So this little one is technically from the old Wood clan, but he doesn't actually remember the clans being separate at all. For as long as he can remember, all the cats have been packed together, always fretting and fussing about, there's a flood, the drinking water's contaminated, the ground's shaking everyone out of the tunnels. Then we have our little girl, Friftkit, who is worried about making mistakes. She is a really nervous girl who loves stories, and I don't think she's quite as sure as Astakit is that the others are coming back. I'd say she keeps trying to ask if they should try and dig them out, but he's in his own world. She would have been born into the old Shore clan, so her paws aren't well suited for digging because they usually live on the beach. So she can't really try to dig them out alone. Then we have Dawnkit, who's growing fond of Astakit. She is a noisy little girl from the original Sky clan, who is currently, I'd say, walking around, sticking her head in every tunnel entrance and just yowling cats' names at the top of her lungs. And she doesn't seem to get tired either, she just keeps yowling. She's quite hungry too, and the fresh kill pile's starting to smell a bit. But she's fonder of Astakit because he offered her one of the bugs he caught. She politely declined, but it was nice to have an offer. And we'll take a little look at the relations. So Dawnkit really likes Astakit. She respects him a little bit and is a tiny sliver bit comforted by him, but she trusts him the most. She likes Friftkit a lot less, but still a little, and she has a lot of respect for Friftkit and is comforted by her and trusts her. Friftkit likes Astakit a lot, but she loves Dawnkit even more. Maybe she feels responsible for the younger kit, wants to look out for her. She respects them both about the same, and she's comforted by them about the same. It's just nice to still have familiar faces, but she trusts Astakit more. Maybe because Dawnkit is a bit loud and brash. Astakit likes Dawnkit a lot, and likes Friftkit a little, but he respects Friftkit more, and he's comforted more by Dawnkit. Maybe Wood clan cats and Sky clan cats have a more similar way of speaking or going about the day, and Shore clan are just a little different. They've had to adjust to the shores. Maybe their tone of voice is a little different. It's not as comfortable. And since they're such tiny babies, we can't really go on patrols or anything, so we'll just have to time skip the moon. Astakit is demanding Dawnkit's attention. And Dawnkit is stuttering while speaking to Astakit. Maybe she's feeling a little overwhelmed. Thrift Kit covered for Dawn Kit on something minor. Maybe she said, I don't know where Dawn Kit could be hiding, Aster Kit. Maybe you'd want to play hide and seek with me instead. And distracted him long enough with his attention seeking that Dawn Kit could just have a breather and a rest. Aster Kit sorts blades of grass like a medicine cat would. It was so cute. I think maybe he's thinking like, huh, I need to make sure the medicine cat den is good for when Crouch Ivy gets back. So he's running around the camp clearing, just picking up all different flowers and like randomly chewing on them, being like, I think this is an herb. This one's definitely an herb. It tastes horrible. But hopefully he doesn't chew on anything he's not supposed to. Then we have Thrift Kit growing fonder of Aster Kit. I think she can see how hard he's working to get everything back in order, and she likes that. But the fresh kill pile is starting to smell really bad. And they're all super hungry. Dawn Kit is wishing that Aster Kit would play more quietly. So she sees him running about camp picking up all these blades of grass and going, ugh, oh, this one's horrible. And in her head she's thinking he's just playing. She's like, can you be a bit more quiet? I've been trying to sleep, but I haven't had enough. I think because they haven't had much to eat, they're starting to get tireder and sleep more of the day. Aster Kit's very good at catching bugs for them to eat, but it doesn't really fill bellies, and no one wants to try what's on the fresh kill pile. It smells so bad. But they're so hungry, and it's been a moon since they've seen any of their clanmates. If they don't leave camp soon, then they might starve. So we'll roll for the next moon. Aster Kit said they'd cover for Thrift Kit, but when it came time they got Thrift Kit in trouble. But at least Dawn Kit thinks Thrift Kit is very helpful. But Thrift Kit doesn't notice Dawn Kit twitching their whiskers at them. Cuties. Aster Kit is worried about Dawn Kit. Maybe because she's the youngest and the smallest of them. And he's been eating as many bugs as he can catch. He'll even eat the stale prey on the fresh kill pile. Moons old and all raggedy. It makes his belly ache, but at least it makes it stop hurting. Kittens should be plump and fluffy, but these three are quite scrawny and slim. There's a really wary hunger in their eyes. I think even Aster Kit has started to give up on the thought that their clanmates might come back. He stopped picking blades of grass to try and sort herbs for Crouch Ivy, and instead he digs up their roots and chews on them to stop his tummy from rumbling. Thrift Kit is pretending to be the clan leader. So I think, though her paws are trembling with every step, she's holding her head high and climbing this grassy slope that looks out across the camp clearing. And she'll start to say something, but the others won't hear her soft voice, so she'll clear her throat and try again. All cats old enough to gather their own prey come here. underneath the tall grass. She tried to echo the words of her former leader, but it was so many moons ago since she'd last heard the call that she wasn't quite sure she'd got it right. Still, the others gathered expectantly beneath her. We're all not old enough to gather prey, Dawn-Kit yowled back at her, and she felt her ears flush. Was trying to say it like Flower Star. Are we playing leaders and deputies again? Why are you leader, Frifkit? You were leader last time. Astakit cut in. Even with his fare dull and flat from hunger, it still managed to fluff up with indignation. And Frifkit startled a little and seemed to shrink into herself, but she didn't move from the slope. I have something important to say. I think we should leave camp and find food. Leave camp? But we're not allowed. We weren't allowed when the warriors were here, but... Frifkit's voice trailed off. They're not here. And they're not coming back. Astakit finished for her. His face pulled into a frown. Frifkit is right. But me and her, we're nearly old enough to be apprentices. We'll look for food. But you stay in camp, Dawn-Kit. Don't go any further than the drinking place, okay? When he turns his gaze back to Frifkit, it's set with determination, and she felt a flood of relief from the support. They'd leave camp, and they'd get food. They'd get food for all of them. Meanwhile, Dawn-Kit is hatching a plan to sneak out of camp and play. So up until now, Dawn-Kit was happy with staying in camp because they're all together, but now she's heard that these two are just going to go off and find food on their own. She's like, well, I'm going to leave camp too. You can't tell me what to do. So we'll roll for another moon. Newly made medicine cat apprentice Astapor learns the way of healing through the guidance from Star Clan. So Astapor is taking an interesting path now. Maybe he's been feeling some pulls in his dreams. And newly made apprentice Thriftpaw wishes that they had someone to mentor them. They've just got to make do. Astapor appreciates Frifkit telling them that they had a feather stuck to their face. But Dawn-Kit had a huge argument with Frifkit, and Thriftpaw caught Dawn-Kit complaining about them behind their back. So I think Dawn-Kit might be feeling a little left behind. They're only a moon younger, but they still have to wait to leave camp and take on these apprentice duties. I feel like they think it's not fair. But now that Astapor is a medicine cat apprentice, he's feeling a little underappreciated. He spends more time gathering herbs and tasting different flowers to see if they make his tummy hurt or not, and not as much time hunting and feeding everyone. And that seems to be a priority at the minute, making sure that everyone has some prey to put in their mouths. Thriftpaw is acting angsty. So she's very nervous and she's very upset that she feels directionless. She has no mentor to teach her how to hunt, she just has to go out there and try and catch prey. Astapaw's decided that he'd rather sniff flowers than use his claws. And Dawnpaw is just down her ear all the time saying, why can't I go with you? Why can't I leave? Dawn Kit is grateful to Astapor for their treatment. And they can go on their first patrols, so I think Thriftpaw would try and get some prey for everyone. A rabbit bursts out from cover, startled by Thriftpaw. Thriftpaw jumps after it, but the rabbit has too great a head start, and she'd returned to camp quite defeated. They haven't eaten much this moon, and it looks like they still won't be. But Astapor then leaves to try and collect some herbs. Astapor notices that the moss in the medicine den is getting old. They need to go and gather some more. Astapor quickly makes their way to the best moss patch they know. They spend a bit of time slicing bits off of their claws, careful not to get any roots or dirt in the pile. Once they're satisfied, they take a moment to wrap their jaws around the heap, then make their way back to camp. Moss was gathered during this patrol. Dawnpaw, who's finally an apprentice now, wonders if they can get by without the guidance of a mentor. All they have really is each other. Astapor had a difficult conversation with Dawnkit, and they now have a deeper understanding of each other. Dawnpaw and Thriftpaw joke around about how bad the other clans smell. I think they might have ventured out of the land further and found a border that they share with another clan. One that's established and not just free children. Oh, and Thriftpaw brings Astapor some fresh kill, hoping that they remembered what Astapor's favourite was. And I think it's kind of like as a sorry for not being as infused about Astapor becoming medicine cat apprentice as she should have been. Astapor is staring off into space. He's quite insecure now. He used to be a daydreamer, but now that he's got all these duties of a medicine cat, he's unsure of himself, of what his path's meant to be. He's still a lover of stories and interested in clan history, but he knows he needs to connect to the stars now as well, because they'll have messages for him, hopefully to help. Thriftpaw is grateful to Astapor for their treatment. She's still nervous and still loves stories, but she's gained a deeper respect for his role and the stresses it might bring him. While Dawnpaw wonders if they can train late tonight. They used to be quite a loud and brash cat. All their emotions were playing on their face, but now they're very cold. They've changed a lot this moon. The others notice it as well. I think as they've grown, they've started to realise the severity of the situation. What Crouchy Ivy said to them just echoes through their heads. They're Star Clan's last hope. They need to make sure that this clan thrives. So they'll patrol together. And Dawnpaw finds a Lona who offers their healing skills in exchange for shelter. After hearing more about your clan, the Lona politely declines joining. The clan has met Archthorn, and your clan's reputation towards outsiders has remained neutral. And maybe Archthorn didn't like the sound of joining 3 children in a field. To them it didn't sound much like a clan, it sounded like a disaster. But Thriftpaw and Dawnpaw try not to let it get them down. they know they're on StarClan's path. Dawnpaw trained extra hard to impress the others, but it was a bit too rough with their body, and they have the bruises to show it. Dawnpaw, you need to chill out, please. Asterpaw thinks Dawnpaw is very helpful, and Dawnpaw saw Thriftpaw being considerate. Thriftpaw bumps heads with Asterpaw reassuringly. You got this, Asterpaw. Oh, they're so cute. Okay, so maybe after that last interaction they had with the Lona, Dawnpaw's feeling a bit disheartened. She wants to show that the three of them are strong together and they can make a clan. But the others aren't really training very hard. Well, Asterpaw's training in his own way, and Thriftpaw is making sure camp runs smoothly and everyone's on the right patrols. But no one's training to, like, fight, really. Asterpaw is unsure that this is what they want to do, but they've already committed to it now. Oh, poor Angel. It's hard not really having any guidance. He hasn't been sent any dreams from StarClan yet. All he has is his instincts and trial and error. And Thriftpaw is resting in the sun after a long day of training. I think maybe Dawnpaw took her out and they had some battle practice together. And Dawnpaw is gossiping. About what? So we'll send these two on patrol together. Your patrol catches the scent of a fox. Tracking it, they find a swift fox feeding on a calf carcass. The cat-sized predator definitely didn't kill this massive hunk of fresh kill. Oh, they might want to get in closer because that'll feed them for moons. As the patrol approaches, the swift fox spots them and backs off from the carcass with a whine. Your cats can feed in peace now, but larger predators will surely soon come and throw them off the kill. By cooperating together, the patrol is able to at least drag some of the intestines home to camp. Oh, well done, girls! See, that's what we call teamwork. They've got food for everyone. They had a good feed this moon. Dawnpaw is feeling much better. I think that feast might have helped. The bruises are gone, finally. And the medicine den nests have been refreshed with new moss from the herb stores. Asterpaw catches Dawnpaw staring at another cat. High negative? What do you mean high negative? Why is that bad? Dawnpaw appreciates how Asterpaw always seems to ask how they're doing. And Thriftpaw is having a wonderful time discussing recent clan news with Dawnpaw. Oh. So Asterpaw is assuring Thriftpaw that everything's okay. Maybe she's been more stressed recently. It's been another moon and they still haven't found a cat to help them grow the clan. But he's certain it'll work out fine. And Thriftpaw, because of his encouragement and compassion, thinks that Asterpaw will make a really good medicine cat when the time comes. While Dawnpaw is wondering if Thriftpaw will be chosen for the next gathering. What would a gathering mean to them? They haven't met up with any other clans yet because they're not really a recognised clan. So there might be some other meaning to it. I'll send you out with someone. Oh, with Thriftpaw. As the patrol pads out into Lark Clan territory, Thriftpaw tells Asterpaw about the dream they had last night, and what the StarClan vision could mean for Lark Clan. Astapor takes Frithpaw aside to discuss Frithpaw's vision. They don't take the responsibility lightly, and both of them work together to divine the message's meaning. I think she might have had a dream of a lark unfurling its wings and letting out the most beautiful song she'd ever heard. And one by one, birds of the forest picked up the melody until it was echoing around her, this lovely tune that seemed so familiar. And as she looked at the sky, the stars were blinking one by one. So they worked together to try and find out what that means. So they head back to camp, and Dawnpaw and Frithpaw would want to go spend the night in the medicine cat den with Astapor. They're quite used to swapping stories, so they'd ask for one of his reoccurring stories. He's always full of them. This would be a good chance to hear one of the tales I've written for the clan's history. Astapor, can we hear one of your stories again? Frithpaw asks. And Astapor looks at his two clanmates, their eyes round and hopeful like a kit's. Though his mind often felt heavy, weighed down with responsibilities that would trouble a cat twice his age, looking at these young cats who'd grown beside him filled him with warmth. They could be annoying sometimes, but he wouldn't want to make this journey with anyone else. The brown Tom dropped to his haunches, tail tucked neatly at his paws. The official storytelling position. The others loafed in front of him, comfortable and eager, though Dawnpaw did her best not to show it. He took a breath and began. There were once 3 powerful clans. Shore Clan, the Tide Watchers. They swam like fish, probably smelt like them too, Dawnpaw interrupted, ending a bop on the head from Frithpaw. But they did more than just swim, Astapor continued with a pointed look. They could read the weather from the changing tides, predict harsh winters or strong winds. They were relied on by everyone. Then there was Wood Clan, the Green Tongues. This earned some stifled laughs from his noisy audience. Their reign spread across most of the forest, and they had a kinship with its nature. They knew the patterns of bird and mice, and shared tongues with them like clanmates. Some could even share tongues with the plants they tended to along their territory. And the third clan was Sky Clan. Dawnpaw seemed to draw herself up a little taller at the mention, her eyes sharp with interest. They were cloud stalkers, living in the mountains and slopes, the strongest climbers. They would watch the skies, the sun, and the stars and use them to navigate the land. Nothing could stay hidden from Sky Clan, because they walked with the clouds and saw all. Trackers, finders, and hunters. The 3 clans reigned over the forest, mountain and shores with an ancestry that reached back for fruitful seasons. Until, one day, the territory changed forever. Shore Clan were the first to notice. They sent messengers to the other clans, but by the time they reached them it was too late. It had already started. First, the ground began to shake. It trembled with such a force that the mountains began to crumble, burying the Sky Clan camp with very few escaping. Then came the toxic water. A wave washed over Shore Clan, destroying their home. The survivors fled to Wood Clan land seeking shelter, but the earthquake had changed the landscape, causing rivers and streams to flood, the clan's freshwater sources were contaminated, and diseases spread quickly among the cats who drank from them. And followed that, the division. As the disasters continued, the remaining cats were forced to share land and prey. Arguments and scuffles were frequent. After all, they were still free clans, forced together as one. Some cats believed it's a punishment from their ancestors, while others blamed the clan leaders for their misfortune. With resources dwindling and no clear path to recovery, some cats chose to leave their clan in search of a safer haven. In all this chaos, 3 kits were born, 1 to each clan. Protected and cared for by others who were struggling to survive, and guided to a new land of plains and trees. They lived in the tunnels with their clanmates. But when the earth shook one final time, they were alone. These kits, now the last remains of the once thriving clans, must make a home of this new territory. They must live on and pass down the stories of their ancestors so that the stars always shine bright. As he finished his tale, Dawnpaw had fallen asleep. He and Thriftpaw watched her in silence for a moment, before the other she-cat finally spoke. And it was the last time that the ground shook, wasn't it? Her voice was hopeful, but there was an edge of fright to her gaze. It won't shake again. Asterpaw wasn't sure if he had the right answer to her question, so instead he settled down beside her and lay his head on his paws. That night, all 3 of them slept together in the small burrow of the medicine cat den. And I think I'll stop our adventure there for today. I almost said Cherry Mole so many times. But I'm really excited to see what adventures these 3 young cats go on, and whether they can keep their clan's legacies going after all. They're still young, so they have time.